good morning, depending on where it is you are joining us from. A warm welcome to episode 50 of our EQ Lunch and Learn series. What a milestone! We've done 50. Cool. As the year winds, I'm now getting so excited I can't speak properly. As the year winds down, November invites us to pause, to take stock of how far we've come, what we've learned, and more importantly, who we've become along the way. It's time to move from doing to being, from chasing goals to celebrating growth. And this month, as is our standard practice at PTS, we're exploring how emotional intelligence helps us to reflect with honesty, appreciate with gratitude, and realign with purpose. Because growth isn't just about moving forward, it's about pausing long enough to understand where we've been. And so, in this episode of the EQ Lunch and Learn, we're going to explore how we can look back with gratitude, look within for insight, and look ahead with intention. We invite you to join us, take a seat, get comfortable, get your water or whatever beverage you're having. And don't forget your lunch, because as I always say, we will provide the learning. You just need to supply the lunch. We're going to dive right into the heart of reflecting beyond the hustle. So, allow me to start with some introductions to my amazing panelists. I'm going to first bring on our resident November panelist who always joins us as we have conversations about reflection. And you can see she's already in the Christmas mood. Tessie Omulo is a communication strategist who specializes in public relations, media relations, and digital marketing, particularly in the area of social media and emerging digital communication techniques. She helps organizations and individuals integrate digital comms best practices into their operations through strategic planning and implementation. She is an account manager, although I see here account director at Burson. At Burson. And Tessie is a friend to PTS. She's really been instrumental in supporting us on how we do our work. Alongside her professional work, she is a community builder and youth mentor with a passion for empowering young female entrepreneurs to start and build sustainable businesses. She founded Female Founders Kenya and also spearheaded the launch of the world's leading startup accelerator founder institute, the Nairobi chapter. She's a member of the ISEC Daystar board, and she's been featured in mainstream media to discuss opportunities in entrepreneurship and careers for youth. Tessie, it is so good to see you. Welcome to yet another. Is this the third edition where we've had you of our end of
Yes,
year reflection? It's good to have
yes.
you here.
Thank you, Mucha. I'm so happy to be here. And as you can see, I have my Christmas mood on. So I hope everybody's jumping on with me. December is here with us. Yeah,
Amen
thank
to
you
that.
so much.
Amen to that. It's here and we are ready for it. So it's great to have Tessie here. If you want to connect with Tessie, you can find her on LinkedIn. We've shared the link to her profile. Next up, let me bring up Brenda. Brenda Okava. Really excited to have Brenda with us here. Brenda is a seasoned HR consultant, passionate about helping organizations establish sustainable systems that align people, processes, and technology to drive business growth. As the founder of 360 Staffing Limited, Brenda provides HR advisory, recruitment, and business support solutions to SMEs and growing enterprises, helping them to close operational gaps and build scalable people frameworks. She's also a mentor and a speaker, passionate about equipping leaders and teams with practical tools for workforce development and organizational success. Her mission is to empower businesses to grow through their people while fostering workplaces built on excellence, empathy, and innovation. Brenda, it is so good to have you here. your debut EQ lunch and learn. Although I must tell you that when people come here once, we usually bring them back again. So hopefully it will not be the last time. It's good to have you. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Mucha. I'm already excited seeing the whole year.
Tessie,
I
I know,
for a
right?
yeah, for a moment I thought I missed a memo. I even went back to my emails. I was like, was there a grace period?
You didn't,
I'm
I
here with my
promise.
camera colors,
No.
but it's
No, there was no
amazing to
dress
be
code,
here.
but we should
Thank you
have.
so
We
much.
should have
Thank
actually.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity. And yes, for sure, I'd be looking forward to another recall on the platform.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Last but not least, let me bring on the one gentleman in the room, Tinashe Nyawata. Tinashe, it's great to have you. Tinashe is a results driven operational leader in plastics manufacturing with a 17 plus year track record of delivering measurable value creation. He specializes in engineering and executing strategic business transformations, optimizing P&L performance through lean manufacturing implementation, and successfully navigating private equity-backed growth initiatives. Tinashe, it's great to have you here. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for inviting me to the platform. Very interesting.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So, guys,
Yeah.
let's dive right in. If you'd like to connect with our panelists, we've shared their LinkedIn links, the link to their LinkedIn profiles. So, feel free to connect with them. I know that you are going to be very impressed with them as they share their great insights. Let's kick off, as always, with our initial question to kind of settle us in. And it's a question that goes to everyone. Tessie, let me start with you. Many people are like me, and reflection takes a backseat to productivity, right? From your perspective, why is it important to have this moment to slow down and reflect rather than simply continue hustling? What's the difference that reflection makes? What difference have you seen it make for you?
Awesome. So, for a moment there, I said I should throw in that tomorrow is my birthday. Guys, you can understand that. Yeah? I'm
You're
so happy.
celebrating already.
Yes, I really, really loved the topic beyond the hustle because, to be honest, if there's anything all of us can connect about currently is we are tired. We have put in the work. We have done what needs to be done this year. We want the holiday to come. So first, let me start by congratulating each and every one of you on this call today. Good job for showing up for your friends, for your family, at work, for your kids, for your business. Good job. You have done well. And we're just inching closer to the end of the year where you can sit and do a good reflection. Now, Mucha knows I really love this is the time of the year I sit down and properly reflect. And I will tell people, give me my space. And the people around me know what that means to me because I will come back very recharged. Now, hustling without that reflection for me looks like driving at maybe 180 on the expressway when it's foggy. Now, you're driving fast, yes, but you know you're likely to crash because you can't see. So you're moving, but you're not very clear about where you're going. So the hustle indeed is about motion, but reflection for me is about making sure the motion is in the right direction. So you sit down and reflect to say, this year has been one, two, three things for me. These are the things that worked. These are the things that didn't go as planned. And these are the things I need to learn as I move forward. I have learned to do this over the years across the different facets of my life. And I do this with my friends. So I try not to sit with it in my cocoon. The only way I can be open and honest and very real about where I'm going, the changes I need to make is sit with someone when I'm making those commitments. So I will sit and I will bucket them into different aspects of my life. And I will reflect to say, these are the things I want to do this year, or in this case, in 2026. And when it comes to a point like this, towards the end of the year, and normally with very consistent check ins throughout the year, I will sit down and say, good job, Tessie. You have done one, two, three, four, five. You might not have done six and seven or eight and nine, but you have done something, you have learned something, and you're well on your way, to being a better person towards the things that you want to accomplish. So for me, it allows me to connect the dots and learn from what I would call maybe my mistakes, or ensure that the ladder I'm climbing is on the right wall. I don't get up there and where was I going? So it makes clear that every time I'm checking in, I am connected to what the purpose is for me. And this comes from a personal
Mm,
perspective, from a professional perspective, and for family for me, which is a big aspect of my life. How am I being there for family? Beyond this hustle, do they feel me? Are they connecting with me? And that reflection allows me to check in with the people that matter to me and give me a good radar on how I'm doing. So yeah, yeah.
I
Back to
love
you,
it.
Much.
I love it. I love it. Thank you very much, Tessie. I think that I know over the years because we've had these conversations that November is a really important time for you. You leverage it being your birthday to really spend that time on reflection. Brenda, let me come to you. Again, we're still settling in. Same question. Why is this reflection important? Because the truth is, for most of us, we are hustling. We just feel like we need to be productive. There's no time to stop and think about what's going on, or what we've achieved, or what we haven't achieved, for that matter. So what difference does reflection make? Why is it important to slow down?
First of all, I'll start by saying reflection is one of the most underrated productivity tools that we have, not just on a corporate basis, but also on individual basis. I laugh a lot at the
Mm,
beginning of the year when I hear people say, New Year reflections, you're not going to do anything about it. Oh, next year you still look at the same list. Now, when we are reflecting, what are we reflecting on? It is the simple things. Even without people knowing, reflection happens on a daily basis. Why did I
mm,
park wrong? You go back, you're reflecting. Should I have taken an angle like this? Should I have done? It's in the simple things we live by every single day. And you get back in your
true.
car, you reverse, and then in your head, you remember the angle you estimated that will give you the right direction forward. So that's just basically life. If you keep on with the hustle, you keep moving. As we've been told, in a foggy place, and you're at 180, really, seriously, at that point, my nerves will be off the roof and I'd be like at 20. You know, the way they say my must just drive like this, I'd be that person at that point because I need one sure thing, and that's clarity.
Yeah.
That is
Mm,
what reflection gives you. When you don't pause, you're literally operating every day on autopilot. You're reacting instead of being logical and leading, because that's where you want to be when you're moving in the right direction. Reflection just helps you to understand what's working, what's draining you, and what needs to change. Because if you don't reflect on what you're doing now or what you have done in the recent past, then you don't know if you're heading in the right direction.
mm,
And for me, the biggest difference that reflection makes is this clarity. When I am clear, when my decisions are getting sharper, it's because I'm getting clarity in my reflections.
yeah.
My energy is more intentional, and I avoid burnout because you're not just doing more, you're doing what actually matters. Because I remember we were reflecting on a few things with my friends and our years of friendship. And one thing came out as we grow older, you're literally able to, you're not afraid of saying, peace of mind, please, I'm heading in this direction. I don't want this because it's not giving me peace of mind, because it's not adding value to the direction I'm heading. So for that, it's reflection. You looked at what you did in your past. You look at what's adding value for you going forward, and you're able to confidently say, I do not want this, and I want this. And with what you want, you're able to break it down and say, each of these sections add value in these different pillars that are different focuses for my ear. You know, quarter one is a reflection of what the value quarter two adds. Quarter three is picking from one and two. And when you're thinking about quarter four, you're like, okay, actually, if I started with what I did in quarter three, all of this would have just been wrong. So if you didn't sit and reflect and get clear vision or clear direction on what it is you need, then everything else will not matter, right? And I think top of everything I can say is this: when we're reflecting on what we've done or what we need to do, people need to be able to set realistic expectations. And this is where the frustration comes in, or the whole notion of reflection or yearly plans and whatnot do not work, right? Don't say at the end of 2026, I'm going to be a billionaire. Well, I'm not saying it can happen. I'm just saying that's a very small fraction for those who would have, but be very realistic as to the expectations you're setting for yourself as a person, because then that will help you exert the right energy and the right work, the right effort towards this realistic its and bits of goals and expectations that you have. So for me, reflection is a very, very key factor. Thing I practice in my life every single week with my daughter to make sure that she's also not being unrealistic with what she's setting for herself as an individual. That way you don't get a teenager or a youth who set expectations, unrealistic ones, in their mind, and when they face the reality of life, they fall into depression. They're not feeling like they can do anything with their lives, but they're able to see what is realistically possible and what is not. So for me, reflection is an all-round aspect of my life.
I love it. I love it. Thank you very much for sharing. I'm already
Back
learning,
to you,
and I know
Mucha.
that. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm already learning, and I know that you are learning too. Quickly, before I invite Tinashe to share his thoughts on the same thing, welcome to those of you who have joined us. Don't forget to say hello so that we can give you a shout out back. It'll be great to see some of our regulars who are here. And if it's the first time that you've joined us, tell us it's the first time so we can give you an extra special shout out. Tinashe, why is reflection important? What are your thoughts? Tinashe, can you hear me? I
All
know
right.
Tinashe is
Yeah.
having
A
challenges
special
with
shout
network.
out.
Yeah.
First time here. So I'm
Awesome.
reflecting on it. I've got two sub devices. I've got a Wi-Fi and another sub device that is supposed to give me the backup redundancy that full. But when you reflect on it, when things don't want to go well, you get a nightmare. But nonetheless, yeah, appreciate the question. Yeah, appreciate the question. And again, I resonate with everybody's thought process here. And daily action is supposed to be part of your day and day basis, and it starts off with when you start off your day, do you actually have a plan for that day, and from that then move on to building up to the end of the day. And as you take time and take notes and you look back and say, did I actually achieve what I wanted to do the day? And I believe in documenting and putting a set target so that you know exactly what you're working towards, and then build towards that and ramping up towards that, and strategically um, um, uh, ensuring that you actually win from that point of view. So when I think about reflection, it's almost like this, and this is the analogy I typically give. It's like when you plan a road trip. You plan a road trip. You got to figure out how you're going to. First of all, you've decided you're going road. Second of all, you've decided when you want to leave. Third of all, you decide what sort of vehicle you're going to actually utilize for you to get to where you want to be. Fourth, you're starting to look at your timing to say, I am going to reach at a certain point at any given point in time. So, based on that very requirement, you end up saying, okay, number one, did I depart at the time that I needed to? If the answer is yes, then that means, okay, you're already starting that reflection process. Then you say, okay, fine. Based on the time that I departed, what is the implication going to be for me the time that I get to the first milestone? And based on that, do I need to adjust anything and course correct? And that's basically how one strategically builds up on reflection, because reflection is actually the key that enables your planning to be better into the future. So it's really super critical to actually have a moment of reflection, and not just towards the end of the year. And I mean, towards the end of the year, people are so tired, people are so drained, people are so frustrated with each other, with colleagues and stuff like that. You end up, if you don't, you need to improve then you end up, being in the same circle of where you where you want to be.
Thank you. Thanks, Tinashe. I think there's a bit where I lost you a little. The network wasn't great, but I think I got just at the end, but I got the gist of what you're saying. And I really love the thread that's running through, right? That reflection allows us to course correct. I think the analogy you used, Tessie, was make sure that your ladder is on the right wall, lest you climb to the top and find that you were in the wrong place altogether, right? And then, Brenda, you talked about it enables us to really manage expectations. I thought that was a really powerful reflection that, as I'm reflecting, as I'm looking at where I am, it helps me to also manage expectations. And I think that's critical in this day and age where sometimes we fail, not because we can't achieve things, but because we just haven't got that clarity in the goals that we're setting. And then again, to your point, Tinashe, using the analogy of the road trip, imagining, driving from Cape Town to Joburg. I think that's the conversation we've had before, where that I must get to this point, in the journey at this particular time. And if I haven't, I can make the adjustment necessary. Whether that adjustment is, I need to go a little bit faster, or I need to manage my expectations, to Branda's point, and realize that I'm not going to get to Joburg at the time I had initially, designed. And so I think, this idea that reflection is critical has hopefully, come through very clearly to those of you who are online. Again, don't forget to say hi. Tessie, I see you. Please go ahead. I think you wanted to add something.
Yes, Mucha. As you were speaking, I think as Brenda and Tinashe were speaking, I started to think about what reflection looks like as a leader with teams at this time of the year. And we are all saying there's frustration. And at work we can feel it a lot more, right? So what does that look like for us as leaders with our teams at this time of the year? And I was writing it down and thinking it looks like checking in with your team. If you have a small enough team, it looks like sitting with them to hear them out, to celebrate, the work that they've done throughout the year. That's not something a lot of companies do or leaders do intentionally. So to appreciate their contribution, to think through what the feedback looks like and listen to their feedback towards what it's been like throughout the year. And most importantly, it's an opportunity to inspire, to challenge them on focusing on the next year, giving them a new energy for 2026, making it very clear on what their contribution is to the larger scheme of things. So it's an opportunity to connect with your team. So I'd say this is a very interesting time of the year to just sit down and connect with your team before the hustle or the rush starts in January again. Yeah.
I like that. Thank you. Thank you very much, Tessie. And I think one of the things you've mentioned that's really important, and this is something I'm learning as someone who tends to be on the hustle, on the go all the time, I'm having to, remind myself to reflect. And I think one of the things that I am learning is to celebrate as well, because I think I have a tendency to accomplish a goal and want to quickly move on to the next one and not stopping to savor the experience. And so we're going to be celebrating tomorrow as a team as we celebrate the year and just really reflect on the milestones, as you've said. And so I think that's also a critical part, the celebration. Yeah. Brenda, Tessie has brought on this idea of, leaders reflecting. So, given your background, right, in people, in performance driven organizations where we are chasing after revenue, we're chasing after goals, we're
Mm.
driven to perform, how can leaders create an intentional space for reflection and gratitude without losing momentum? Because I think the fear some leaders have is, if we start doing too much of the reflecting, it's going to, mess the flow that we are on. So how do leaders do that, so that, yeah, you're still working towards achieving what needs to be achieved, but you're taking the time necessary to allow the
Mhm.
team to check in?
First of all, leaders don't really have to choose between performance and reflection, because I think these two actually fuel each other, right? One thing I've seen working very well is embedding micro moments of reflection into existing routines. Going back by what Tessie has said, leaders are in a space right now where they need to know, what has my ear looked like and what's the impact to my
Mhm.
people, right? So you want to
Mm.
listen from them, create those spaces. Let them be very common and obvious routines, where you're just sitting with your people, hey, check in. It may be the smallest things you ask. But remember, when you're dealing with talent, there's the capital H in human aspect that people forget. This person, no matter how good they are of a performer, it doesn't matter what they specialize in, it doesn't matter what role they play. One common thing across the board is we're all human. We have
Mhm.
emotions, right? We have feelings. We have so many things going on in our lives, and we just need those spaces, those moments where we can come and just have those reflection moments together, not just alone, together, right? So that you can also be able to see the essence of team work in it. For example, starting team meetings with a very short 60-second win of gratitude check in. I love one of my partners at work is always asks, what's your word for the week? Like, what's driving you this week? Right? Is it achievement? Is it closing? I hear a lot of salespeople saying closing because they're very committed to closing clients who've been pending over there. And this instantly shifts the energy. And
Yeah.
most of all, Mucha, for me, is it building psychological safety for this
Mm.
person? Are they feeling more aware as the week is starting? Another approach is like doing quarterly pause and learn sessions, right? What have we done as a team? Because remember, when you started, you laid out the KPIs and the expected deliverables for them. Why are you not coming back again to check on them together with them, right? Don't go. This is not about the performance evaluation. This is you as your team, you and your team.
Mm.
Take this time to reflect with your team on what they have achieved, what has stretched them, where did they burn out, and what they want to carry forward. And then this way, you're also having a sense of ownership in the journey of
Yeah.
achieving these goals together. When reflection becomes a part of the rhythm, just every day, someone is just, even with or without your presence, you find now your team members always sitting, taking a step back. They're like, what did I do yesterday? Can I do it better today? It stops feeling like a slowdown, or stops feeling like an obligation because of my salary. You know, the way people say, I have to do this because I have a salary. And instead,
Yeah.
it becomes a very strategic reset, and it boosts the momentum of these individuals. So
Mm.
automatically becomes a part of them. And
Yeah.
when leaders are able to fashion this into their people, even building the systems that they need every single year or every single quarter to get this done, it becomes very easy and automatic.
Mm. I like it. I like it. I like the idea of, building this into the general ebb and flow. And I agree with you 100% that reflection fuels performance, right? Because
Mhm.
what reflection does is it allows us to do more of what's going well and make adjustments of what's not going well, right?
Yeah.
It makes no sense, to use Tinashe's analogy of having a set road trip with a desire to arrive at a destination at a particular time and then never
Mhm.
checking to see if you're on time. You're just going to arrive and realize that you were late,
Yeah.
but you never checked in along the way. So I agree with you 100% that, those reflections fuel. I liked that statement you used, I actually quickly wrote that down. I was like, ooh, I like that phrase. Quarterly pause and learn. Ha! I like that. I'm going to borrow that one. I think that one's really
And
good.
something that has worked for me, Mucha, in the past is with all my team members, I'd always make sure they understand what it feels like to be the leader of the team. So within your quarter, you have monthly updates, right? So I'm going to come and give it to Tessie. Tessie, you're running January, right? When Tessie gives us the report for January, then the next person, Tinashe, takes over for February. And then eventually for the quarterly meeting, I'm standing in as the leader. Why? It's because you also want your team members to understand the pressure or the responsibility that comes with leadership. Because you see, in teams, we have a problem where guys are like, Mucha is never in the office. She just comes in the morning and it's meeting after meeting after meeting. They don't understand
Yeah,
strategically why Mucha
yeah.
has to be where she is, because the role requires you to be able to do
Yeah,
that. So if you allow your
yeah.
people to get a taste of that using these small activities, then they'll be able to understand why the role of leadership is where it is and why it feels the way it feels every day.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. I am shocked at how many leaders don't actually do regular check-ins with their team. It's a shock to me as I interact with organizations. There are quite a lot of leaders who don't actually take the time to connect with their teams, and I think it's a missed opportunity because it means you're not able to provide the support your team needs. You're not able to, build that psychological safety that Brenda talked about on an individual basis. So that's critical. Tinashe, let me come to you as we continue to explore this idea of embedding reflection in our lives, both from a leadership perspective, but also from an individual perspective. In high pressure operational environment, right? So, your background is in the engineering, manufacturing space. There's a lot of pressure from an operational perspective. How has reflection helped you lead through transformation and major change?
Yeah, so like what Brenda is saying, because it's a fundamental in terms of process control. So you can imagine an aircraft, right? A pilot is flying an aircraft. They've got all this instrumentation that is telling them everything that is happening. So think of it like it's a reflection point, and they need to make sure that they're actually seeing all the dials, the the temperature of the engine, the fuel, the this, the that. They have to be in tune with everything. Even if they're in cruise control, they're not supposed to move away from their seat for very long. At least there's going to be a co-pilot or whatever it is. So, in terms of leadership, and this is a fundamental that I see sometimes, and I've been a victim of it because I've been learning through the process, where when you become a leader, you say, "Hey, now this is my opportunity to take a back seat and to point the fingers," but instead you're supposed now to be forefront of actually what is actually happening on a day-to-day basis. This is what I call the just talking lean language and so forth. But this is the gamble. If you don't know what is happening in the place where the work is happening, then you do not know what is happening overall. You expect to get a report at the end of the month to say you're performing. You cannot change what has already happened. You have to change as it happens on an hourly basis, on a daily basis, just like that. So every morning, if this is my when I was in corporate, this is my routine. Every morning, there are touch points that I have to go within the factory, right? So that I can reflect on what is actually happening in the plant. Second of all, at 9 o'clock for 10 minutes, full management team, being HR right through to finance, are on the factory floor looking at the results that are being, like what Brenda was saying, giving that opportunity to the next person, presented by the operator or the person doing the work, showing to say, this is how we performed. These are the challenges we found. Some of them are quick, where we can put immediate counter, right? Because we've reflected instead of, hey, here's what's happening. You're pushing 2 million units a month, producing 100,000 units a day. If one unit fails, and I mean, I've gone through this, if one unit fails, that's going to cost you millions of rands, well, hundreds of thousands of dollars just by one unit failing in a process. Now, if you leave to fail and then you end up only finding it out at customer side, you lose the business. Now, looking at a commercial point of view. In the same vein,
Yeah.
with an individual, if you find your employees are struggling and you're not reflecting on it, not listening, and you then immediately you end up in a situation where you see the system failing or not getting the results that you're expecting. So if you're not checking in on your KPI on a daily basis, right? If you're not checking on your staff on a daily basis and understanding their well-being, as a leader, you're going to find it pretty difficult to then come together on that performance appraisal session for the increase, the bonus that takes place, to then start trying to give feedback at that point in
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
I would say, and quickly come, I don't know stories, which I know I love stories. There's a time I had flicked between a team of diverse people, right? A team of diverse people. And the conflict was purely based, my boss doesn't understand what I'm looking for. I'm putting pressure on the boss to say, I need the results from this. And then the team is, she doesn't understand, she doesn't know, and so forth. She's trying hard to give the results. Now, you check in with them and they say, okay, fine, this is what it is. Then you realize, man, there's something missing here. The one thing that was missing was the definition of the KPI. Okay, defined it correctly. That's me reflecting on my mistake. Let me define it correctly. Okay, after defining correctly, tools do they require in order for them to achieve what they need to go? And when you bring that all together, the team ended up, a problem that was supposed to be solved in 6 months was the target, was solved within 3 months of actually getting that team thinking the same way. So by enabling that reflecting process, you even become effective problem solvers. A problem solving culture comes into
Yeah.
play because they'll see you on a day-to-day basis with a effective problem solving methodology that they can also adopt, and seeing that you've created a safe place for them to operate.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. I love it. And and you're so right. When you put it in the example of, things that are being produced on the manufacturing floor, it makes it so clear, right? That when we allow an item to be the output to be incorrect, and we notice it after one day, we can course correct. Whereas if we leave it till 1 month is gone, that's a lot of money we've wasted. So, in the same way, this is the same thing about our people, right? If we're having those moments of reflection as leaders, it means we can provide the support that's required rather than spending all this time and coming to find, as happens with many people at the performance appraisal, is when you have your long list of feedback to give someone. So yeah, I think that's thank you very much for that, Tinashe. That's really a really good analogy in our mind. Tessie, let's talk a little bit about the digital world where visibility and output is everything. So how can we avoid, as professionals, this comparison, right, that ends up making us feel as though we're behind and having to ramp up our activity? How can we cultivate authentic reflection and self appreciation?
Thank you, Mucha. And I think this is something a lot of us struggle with, yeah? Because first, there's people saying you can't be silent, you need to be heard and seen. And so we need to see, what you're doing, the work that you're doing on LinkedIn, on different social media platforms. We can't always, have our work sitting behind the scenes. We have to come out and show what we're doing. So there's one side saying do this, then there's the other side that says, now, when you see a lot of people actually doing great work,
Mm-hmm.
the human thing to do is compare and say, why haven't I gotten this far yet? You know? And I usually say comparison is one of the biggest causes of anxiety, because as much as you're doing well, you will tend to feel like you're not doing enough. So quit
Yeah.
comparing. I don't think there's any better way to say it. I think we just got to quit comparing ourselves to other people. And the reason for this is our journeys are so different. Your capabilities, your giftings, your unique abilities are very different. And
Mm-hmm.
leaning towards these things will enable you to have a deep sense of self satisfaction, when you understand that these are my abilities. I did show up 100%. And so good job, because
Mm,
I am leveling up and I'm comparing myself to Tessie yesterday and not necessarily Mucha. Yeah. So we really have to trade this need for dopamine hit of getting more likes on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on TikTok. I don't know how that goes away, but we need to trade for like a deep sense of internal validation, where you sit with
mm,
yourself and
mm,
you appreciate how much you've shown up and the work that you've done. The likes will not
mm.
do it. It just doesn't cut it, guys.
Yeah.
And some of the ways you can do this very well is try and surround yourself with some real people, some real group of friends, real family who will tell you, great job, I'm proud of you, I've seen you show up this year. And they celebrate those things. Online validation doesn't quite cut it. So you need to have um, a deep reflection on one, being able to create that space of community, and community being the people who can always have your back, always celebrate you. And you don't just celebrate the things that work out, you celebrate even the effort, acknowledge the effort that went into trying out things throughout the year, whether or not
Yeah.
they worked out, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
be that curator of your mindset that allows you to celebrate yourself first. So that internal validation, create a space of people who will celebrate you genuinely. Then
Mm-hmm.
social media is an add-on, guys. Yes. If they like it, well and good. If they don't, be
If
our
they
guide.
don't, it's all good.
No,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
you to be there for you not to get into a season or a constant a wheel of anxiety, and before you know it, imposter syndrome, and before you know it, it hits your productivity and you're not doing well. So
Yeah.
digital platforms are very good for us. And as a communication professional, I will advise everybody to use them and use them responsibly, and use them to, use your voice and show the work that you do. But they're not everything. If you don't get the responses you're looking for, when you
Yeah.
put out that post that says, I am happy to announce on LinkedIn that everybody puts out, if you don't get to do that this year, that's fine. There's a lot of things that you've been able to do behind the scenes. Sadly, we don't get to see a lot of behind the scenes for anyone. For
Yeah.
anyone. What
I
we
like
can
Yeah.
share,
Tessie, I like that you say that because then my tagline for the session was when the dust of the hustle settles, you're left with yourself.
yes,
You're left with who you are. Who
yes,
are you? Do you love the person you see? So my
Yeah.
person is that one in the back end. I don't like it when I put
yeah,
everything on LinkedIn and Brenda, you don't have too many likes or people following you. It's gonna impact your business. I've never had a day when I slept hungry. It is not because of my likes on LinkedIn or social media or where my brand is going as a business. It's been because of who I'm left with. My personality, my person has been able to drive the business beyond everything else. So it is very key what you're saying, how people are able to separate themselves with the technology so that you're able to remain posing out there.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You I love what you're saying, and I 100% that we really need to get into the habit of validating ourselves. And I like what you said, Tessie, about just, surrounding yourself with people who are actually going to speak to
Mm,
what you have been able to achieve, the lessons you've learned from the missteps. And I think for me, above all, the person you are becoming. Because maybe you did not hit any of the 5 top goals that you'd set for the year, but who have you become? Right? If you've grown through that, then I think
Yeah.
that's a milestone worth celebrating, right? I can celebrate the fact that, wow, okay, I've grown. This year, I had to build a muscle of resilience because of all the things that went wrong. And I can celebrate the fact that I did. I was resilient. I did survive, and I live to fight another day, right?
Yeah.
So I think that it's also celebrating who you've become, and I like that quotation, Brenda. That in the end, yeah, you're left with you
Yeah.
at the end of the day. It's you you're left
mhm.
with. And believe you me, those likes, they'll be there when they're there, but those likes are fickle. They are very fickle. And so if we rely on those alone, we are going to struggle. We are going to struggle a
True.
lot because those likes are fickle. Um,
You know,
Jesse, maybe let me just stay with you.
yeah,
Yes, Tinashe, go ahead.
yeah. So sorry, I just jumping in the back, and I know my network isn't
Yeah,
great, but
yeah,
just
go
a
ahead.
reflection point when I was a lot younger. Yeah, just, when I was a lot younger, probably as I was growing up, and I had an older brother, and we had a 6 year gap, and all I wanted to be was like him and comparison. And one thing that he left me with was a poem called Desiderata. So just Google that. It's Desiderata. I'll spell
Desiderata,
that for
I
you.
love it.
Desi. Yeah, I mean, for me, that was just the principles that I've kept as I've continued to grow
Mhm,
in my career as an individual and so forth, reminding me of where I've come from and reminding me to remain grounded because the fanfare is going to be over, the lights are going to be off, and you're going to be in your little corner. And I always reflect to say, when you go to sleep, whether married or whatever it is, when you go to sleep, the last person you converse with is within your own mind. So
Mm.
if you can't get to peace with that person, it's going to be very difficult if you're going to be dependent on validation from other people. So just remember that, just as a side note, yeah.
I love it. Thank you very much. We've shared a link to Desiderata, go placidly amidst the haste. Very powerful. Let me just quickly give a shout out, Nyakato. It's great to have you here. Thank you very much for joining from Nairobi. If you are online, and I can see we have a number of people online, please do say hi so we can give you a shout out. From where I am, I can't see your name unless you actually say hi. So please do say hi so I can say hi back, and the conversation is great. As always, I tell you, you provide your lunch and we will provide the learning. Tessie, I was going to stay with you as a follow-up, not necessarily to the earlier question, but because had asked you the last question. um when we look back, right, when we look within, when we look ahead, which is what we're talking about today, beyond the hustle,
mhm.
how does this strengthen emotional intelligence, or where is the EQ element to all of it? Because at the end of the day, this is an EQ lunch and learn. So what's the link to emotional intelligence, or how does emotional intelligence help us perhaps to do this reflection?
Amazing. When I hang out with Mucha, I am forced to learn a lot about strengthening this EQ muscle. And I kid you not, that has been one of the things that has really helped me grow as a professional at work, and even in my personal life. As you grow and you interact with people, and people tell you, oh, your friends circle, tends to reduce and things like that. But others tend to be stronger because of such, learnings. So when I think about EQ, I can't not mention reflection, because EQ takes you into a place where, or emotional intelligence takes you to a place where you have to really think about how you show up. And how you show up is driven by how you feel. And how you feel will take you to a place where you have to really go down to define the things that matter to you. What does success look like for me as Tessie? Not the world, not the society, not my mom, who is a huge impact in my life. What does it look like for me? And then now I start to understand why I define success the way I do and how I will show up every single day to make sure I achieve the things that are close to my heart and what I need along the journey. So for me, EQ allows you to see those things. You know, how do I feel about where I am at today? How can I make, jumps or leaps to get, to get to the things I need to achieve or to get to achieve my dream. So it's almost like a lens that helps me just keep picking through and um, looking within to say, I'm on the right track. I'm on the right track.
Yeah.
I need to do one, two, three more things. I need to lean on one, two people. It gives me an opportunity to have, a check-in with myself, right? And it helps me show up better as a teammate, show up better as a leader at work because I'm taking into consideration all these things that make Tessie, right? That I'm not just showing up to work as a comms person and I need to draft press releases, I need to do, storytelling and things like that. It brings me to a point where I understand Tessie is this whole bubble of a joy, this person who, is a ball of energy and likes to do many things, and how those things impact how she shows up at work and why those things are important to her. So I would say that, Pucha.
I like that. And it goes back, I was just reflecting as you were talking on what Brenda said earlier, the capital H in human, right? And I think it's EQ brings out our humanness. Tinashe, I saw you lean forward as Tessie was speaking and you had a smile on your face. So let me come to you next. Similar question. I'm not sure if you are hearing me, Tinashe, because it looks like the screen's frozen again. But if you can hear me, Tinashe, just thinking through what's the EQ got to do with reflecting, which is the question I'm asking all of you. So Tinashe, I saw as you were talking, Tessie, I saw him kind of lean forward and smile. So what were your thoughts, Tinashe, on the same question? And then Brenda will come to you on the same question as well. Go ahead, Tinashe. Yeah, you're muted, Tinashe.
Like when I think about what Tessie was saying, and it resonates with some of the philosophies that I believe in, and I think that that's good because that means this is world class thinking that we're actually dealing with. So well done, guys, for bringing this. Um, so from that context, I always say there's this WWLL. That's what I call it. What winning looks like, right? So I give the analogy. It looks like if I say we're going for a football match, right? I and we are in the US. What do you expect to see? You expect to see someone coming with gear, headgear, shoulder pads, and so forth. And if you go to the UK and you say we're playing football, what do you expect to see? Someone coming and shoes. If you bring an American and you find what winning looks like, first from the beginning on what two are supposed to look like, you're going to get somebody with a helmet coming to the UK to play soccer, right? And I really resonate with that to say you got to define what winning looks like as an individual, not just as an individual, even in your role as a leader. What does winning look like? And your winning looks like is not defined by what your utopia looks like. It's good to have utopia, but it's also about the environment that you're in, being sensitive to the environment. And this is where it's straight comes through to emotional intelligence. What Mucha is actually talking about. So the higher EQ you have, the more you're actually understanding of how you can actually drive into that winning mode, whether as an individual, as in your role in the organization from that context. So that self-awareness is super critical in terms of what it is. And I mean, my base, as much as I'm in a technical field industry, some of the basis of what we actually do comes from a deep rooted understanding of the emotional intelligence. So I think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You know, I
Mm-hmm.
base a lot of my theory, the structure models for training. I build it based on Maslow's hierarchy pyramid, where I start with, hey, what are the basics that I actually need? So start as an individual. What are the basics that I actually need? This is what will make me right. And you move on to the next phase until you get to the top of the pyramid. And that's what winning looks like. That top of the pyramid is what it looks like. So it's a journey. And that journey has got to be defined by you are rooted, you're grounded. That emotional intelligence is there to then say, hey, I'm not going to have that outburst if things are not going my way. I'm not going to,
Mhm.
crumble down and shrink, but merely you need to actually have that, call it that roundedness, and it doesn't come easy because pressures are so high, but you just need to spend time reflecting on what winning actually looks like.
I love it. I love it. And as you said, I see why you were smiling because indeed Tinashe loves talking about what winning looks like. And I see the connection you made when Tessie was talking about defining what success is, right? And to Tessie's point, what
Mm-hmm.
success looks like for you as an individual. I think that when we're lacking in emotional intelligence, we're more likely to go with the flow rather than, digging deep to understand who we really are, what we really want, and what success really looks like for ourselves, what winning looks like for ourselves. And so that self-awareness is critical. I mean, I always say that you can only go as far forward as you're willing to go as deep inward, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your ultimate success and true success, not those, not the likes, true success is going to be defined by your ability to go inwards. And it's messy and it's uncomfortable to go
Yeah.
inwards, right? It's not comfortable to peel back the layers to truly understand, who you are and what you're trying to achieve. So Brenda, let me come to you on the same idea, right? What's the
Mm-hmm.
interplay with emotional intelligence? Why is reflection related? What impact does EQ have? So all of those things around
Mm-hmm.
EQ and reflection.
I was just playing around with my notepad. I put a notepad here in a pen, and I wasn't sure I'm gonna write anything. But as you were discussing, and Tessie and Tinashe were giving the analogy and understanding of this, I thought about the words we're using. So we're looking at back, within, and ahead. If you take the
Mm-hmm.
first two letters of back, it's BA, W, and A. What's that? In Kiswahili, it's a bawa. It's a wing.
Okay.
Think about
Ooh.
growing this wing, right? When a baby bird is coming out and it's trying to fly from the nest, and the mother is always very careful that it doesn't fall because it's not going to fall. It's not going to be able to fly back. It is the strength and the capacity of the wing that determines how far you can go. So, how are we growing our wings within the space? These three layers, looking back, looking within, and looking ahead, will help leaders respond thoughtfully. When you think about looking back, this builds self awareness because you're like, how did I do this? Did I think right? Did I use the right strategy? Because it forces you to confront patterns, whether good or bad, right?
Mm,
And then your
mm.
reactions, your triggers, and your growth areas. So that when you get to the point where you are looking now within to deepen your levels of empathy, then you get to understand your own emotions and you become more attuned to now these two. What
Yeah.
would others, what are other people's experience? Because when you get to a point where you realize maybe I didn't handle it well, let me reach out to Mucha, just pick her brain and understand how did she approach this as well. Then pick your nuggets from that. Come back to this space where now you are assessing within. And remember, when you get advice, we're told you don't have to implement it. You pick the nuggets from people's stories and from the experiences and see what would add value to you. Then we start
Yeah.
looking ahead, which at this point strengthens your relationship management because you start leading now with intention
Yeah.
rather
Yeah.
than emotion, because you're very confident that I have evaluated what I did wrong or how I didn't show up more and better.
Yeah.
And I have
Yeah.
looked within myself and assessed the capacity. Remember, we said setting expectations. Assess your capacity as a person and see that maybe even before you didn't succeed because your expectations were too big and you were not yet ready for that.
Yeah.
And look at the strengths, and when you have these three pillars aligned, you'll be more intentional. You'll even enjoy the journey of moving forward, and you'll not always be alert, like you're approaching something with so much fear you don't want to touch all of it, right?
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah.
let me just jump to the deep end. I'm sure I'm going to find a twig there or a rock I can hold on to, you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes I
Yeah.
even tell, I have sessions, coaching sessions with candidates, and they ask me, do you think I'm ready? I'm like, I don't know if you're ready.
Mm.
Do you feel confident enough to take on that position? I remember in my past,
Mm.
one time I was an ops professional, and one of the leaders in the group of companies was very ready to give me a CEO role for a company they were starting. It sounded really nice, but I was like, I can actually do what you people want me to do as an ops, as a head of ops, but I don't have to change my title to a CEO of that particular company because I don't think I'm ready to stand in as a CEO and the expectations that are set for a CEO. But you can have a CEO there who can carry the
Mm.
title and look pretty and go to the media and everything. But I'm okay sitting behind and exemplifying my capabilities to the best of the knowledge and effort that I have. So I think
Mm.
these three layers put together will help leaders respond thoughtfully, not react impulsively. Which is basically the foundation of emotional intelligence.
Emotional intelligence, 100%,
Yes,
100%.
yes.
Yes.
When you have this figured out, self-awareness, empathy, and how am I relating with other people, relationship management,
Mm.
whether close to me,
Mm.
far, internally, is it professionally, is it personally, then you are able to balance what it means then to grow within this space with emotional intelligence.
Mm.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. To
Okay,
those of you who are online,
sorry,
sorry,
Mucha,
go ahead. No, no, no,
as
go
I was
ahead. Go
speaking,
ahead.
I just remembered a couple of years back I summited Kilimanjaro. And some of the things, let me tell you, it was a journey. And it starts so simply. You start with walks in Karura Forest. Then from Karura, 2, 3 walks. Then our team leader puts out this whole schedule of hikes on our WhatsApp group, and everyone started panicking. From a group of like 65 people, I think after that schedule came out and people saw Ruringa, Elephant Hill, people started dropping off because then you're learning whose capacity is where, right? And as we started going for this hike, because the intensity is increasing, the people that were left behind saw the possibility of doing it and started approaching us. Hey, Brenda, was it nerve-wracking? How did you start? Was it good? And when they listened to us, they started joining. And we were more informed. We were like, can we make sure some of these trips have like a 10 kilometer, a 20, a 30, so that anyone who hasn't done this before are able to know how far it can take them. So if you're tired at 10 kilometer, there's a value add you've made because remember, it's like pace setters. We started many. So the guys going ahead of you, you motivated them. Some of them don't even have an idea you dropped off halfway. But you were able, your presence was able to push them to move forward. So getting all the way to the last camp, the base camp, to where now you wake up at night. to start going around the mountain until you get to the top. It takes 4 hours to a distance of a hill that from eye level is like, I can just run up this hill right now. But the reason we took 4 hours, it's because it was this sharp. So we had to go sort of around. And every time I would move to the other corner, when I look to my right, it's the same guy who was there with me. Like, are we not moving? Right? But remember, you're seeing them from your right, he's seeing you from his left, and you're both motivating each other. So everyone has a position they play. And because if I looked right and I didn't see him, I'd be like, did the guy fall? Did he drop off? Like, we're in the middle of the mountain and there's no option but going forward. So looking at that, it built a lot, because when you're at the last camp, you look back, you've done 70 something kilometers of really hard terrain. There's no going back. You just have to sit with yourself, look within you, amass all the strength you have. And the only way for you is to look ahead. You are in total darkness with a teeny tiny torch here. But the one thing that is driving you to keep going is the vision you have in your head. And remember, it's not a vision of something you've seen, it's photos you've seen of the sun rising,
Yes.
of people taking their photos at Mount Kilimanjaro, highest peak and whatnot. You're using that to drive you to get to that peak. That summit really grew who I am as a person, the human within. And a lot of empathy grew in me, not just from a personal perspective. I was able to come and use these magnets to sort of think through professionally, think as a human, think as a leader, think as a colleague, because then it helps you become better at building these relationships, being empathetic, being very self-aware. And these milestones we're hitting in our lives, these reflections, quarterly reflections, oh my God, I did it. Allowing someone to take lead. I didn't know I could lead. You were tense when you started. At the end of it, you're like, God damn it, I did it. That small win, those celebrations are the ones that make us better each and every time, recognizing that you do have the capability of hitting that milestone. So when things are bleak, when there's light, as long as you have it in your mindset that you know where you're heading, it's going to be very easy for you to keep pushing through.
Yeah, I like that. Thank you. Thank you much for sharing that. And congratulations. I see perk up, Tessie is a avid hiker, and I saw her when you talked about that summit. So congratulations. I'm always amazed at how quickly the time goes. I can't believe that's how little time we have left. So just two things quickly. We would love to hear from you in the comments. So here's a question for you in the comments for those of you who are, if you watch this later, please do still drop your response. Which of the three, looking backwards, looking within, or looking ahead, do you find hardest to do, and why? So which of these three, looking back, looking within, or looking ahead, do you find hardest to do, and why? I find looking ahead the easiest, because I'm very forward looking. I'm very excited about the future. I find looking back the hardest because I'm usually wanting to quickly go to the next, and I'm having to develop that skill of looking backwards. And looking within is something that I'm learning to do more of, because like I said, true success comes about when we are able to look within and to look at some of the stuff that's not so nice to know about ourselves, but that is how we grow, right? And then the second thing, so in addition to the question that I've just asked you to share your responses to, if you have any questions for my panel, share them in the comments as well. So whether you're with us on LinkedIn or on YouTube, type your questions in the comments so that I can share them with the panel in the 15 minutes we have remaining. So do that now. And don't forget, if you haven't said hi already, please just say hi so that I can say hi back and I can see you online. All right. So guys, time is far spent. Tinashe, I want to come to you, right? And we're starting to kind of wind down our thoughts. have at the back of your mind, each of you, that we will close with an action kind of question, right? Close with a question around what steps can someone take? Because people always want to know, okay, so how do I get started, or where should I go, or what should I do? So have that at the back of your mind as your final question, right? That I will ask. But Tinashe, just thinking about this idea of, EQ being the crux of reflection. I think earlier you talked about, reflection is EQ is such a, it's the foundation. I think I can't remember the exact word you used, but the foundation. What practical reflection habits can leaders, again, we're talking about how high output environments, we're talking about, settings where production is key, right? And we have pressures to deliver, because leaders do have pressures to deliver. Bearing in mind what we talked about earlier when Brenda talked about it doesn't have to be either or. Let's get practical, right? So, what practical reflection habits can leaders adopt that will help them to enhance
Okay.
productivity?
All right. So I'm just gonna talk probably about two things. Number
Mm-hmm.
one, fog. You know what fog is? It's that stuff that doesn't allow you to see where you're going, right? But fog in my world is an acronym for fact, opinion, or guess, right? A lot of people operate in the opinion or guess realm, right? I have an opinion that this work's supposed to take X amount of time. Or I have a guess that based on the history of something else that I've experienced, or a lot of based on my experience, or based on what I've seen before, come from, this is what needs to be done. I think you need to spend a little bit more time working with facts. So spend time, and that's the reflecting back, right? Gather the facts, build them up, because that will inform how you're going to react going forward. Because the moment you react without gathering the facts and you work on opinion and guesses, that's going to be detrimental, right? So that's number one. Number two, um, one of the very critical things that you need to put up for yourself. You put it nowadays. I was actually looking at Garmin. Garmin used to be the GPS of the day, and they said, "Oh well, you know what? We got to change. We got to go to watches because there's no future." And that goes Google is taking over now. Google's taking over now. Everyone has a GPS on their phone, where it was so expensive. The GPS tells you where you are, how long it's going to take to get to where you want to be, and it tells you the traffic conditions ahead and so forth. That's how Google works with their maps, and they take live information, all facts, bring them all in, and use those facts to then define the next step forward. It's visual. If you don't have a visual, number one, KPI for your team as an individual, how do you expect them to do what you want them to do? That's number one. Number two, if you don't review the KPI or the target that is in place on a cadence of, be it a daily cadence, a weekly cadence, a monthly cadence, I would almost go and say it's got to be daily. Daily, spend 10 minutes, no more than 10 minutes reflecting on it. Don't talk long stories, don't problem solve in that. Just spend time reflecting. It's a reflection point. Create safe places for reflection. As managers, as people, create the safe place. Because the moment they feel intimidated and they say this questioning and reflection is almost like a witch hunt, then
Mhm.
you totally lose your audience, or you totally lose the
Yeah.
impact of the work that you're doing. So bring it back, make it visual, make it a run chart. Where there's a win, clap, single, that's what we call it in our world. Single hand clap, celebrate, then get back onto it, right? Because you're going to define the next outcome, the next outcome, the next outcome. So the past influences what will happen in the future. The facts that you've created and reflected on will inform you better to actually then countermeasure what could actually go wrong. So, yeah, pretty much. I mean, this is just a small bit of what the reflection process could look like in a high
Yeah.
pressure environment for me. But have it
Yeah.
visual. Make sure your team sees visual, and then yeah.
One of the things Tinashe always says to me is he reminds me how, when football players or rugby players or any sport are on a field, there's a scoreboard that they are seeing continuously with a timer counting down to the end of the game, right? And Tinashe always talks about the fact that as a leader, your team needs to have a scoreboard. And it's not a stick that you're using to beat them. It's actually to motivate, to help people to see where they are, right, vis-a-vis where you're trying to get to. And so I think I like that. And I've heard you talk about the fog before. I think that many of us use opinions and guesses for sure. We're rarely gathering the data and actually mining the data to determine. For those of us in business, we're making decisions on the basis of what we think rather than actually getting the data, rather than assuming that this is what a client will pay. Have you asked them? I think one of the lessons I've learned, right, is to stop making those assumptions and to ask the questions. So thank you very much for those, Tinashe. I think those are some really practical insights. And like I said, we always like to wrap it up with practical stuff that people can do. Faith, hi. Faith said a hello, joining from Nairobi. And Faith says, I struggle to look back and look within. I think those are the hardest, to be honest. I think we can we can look forward with excitement. And I think looking within can be tough. Because like I said, you're not always going to like what you see, right?
Yes.
Brenda, your thoughts. We're talking about practical steps now, right? So what are some of the things that we can do practically, right? So maybe simple practices that you would recommend to our audience to help them to reflect, reset, and realign, to do this thing we're talking about, the looking backwards, looking within, looking forwards.
Okay. I hope you can get clearly. My network
Yes,
is not so
loud
good.
and clear.
Oh,
Loud
okay,
and
super.
clear. We can hear you. As I say that, then we lost you.
So I'm going to look at this two-prong. In a corporate,
Okay.
I think in a
You're
corporate
back.
space,
Yeah,
it
you're
would
back. Go ahead.
amazing. So I'd look at this two-prong, right? From a professional space, from a personal space. In a professional perspective, I think I would say create structured spaces where teams get to talk openly about what was hard, what they've learned, and how they want to move forward because it's a team moving together. Then when people feel heard and validated, trust just naturally rebuilds itself from that. Secondly, you can do get teams to revisit why they exist, like a purpose reset for each team. Who they serve, why do I exist, who do I, and what impact they want to create, right? Is what we think as team leaders is the impact, but then what do they want to create eventually by delivering the service they are? This shifts the conversation more from blame to alignment, right? Are we together in this? Are we moving together? Then something else I've seen working in the corporate space is actions. You want to catch early signals, yeah? And adjust them before they become do this, then you'll be able to catch these issues. To me personally, I have a practice that I swear by every single day. It's called, to me, it's a 3-minute check-in. Call myself to a meeting and I'm like, at the end of the day, what worked today? What drained me or challenged me? And then eventually, what is one intention for tomorrow that I have? And how can I do better tomorrow? It's been a solid prayer for me every day that I ask God, make me a better person today than I was yesterday, so that I can be able to achieve more and feel better about myself as a person. Remember, we're looking within. We're celebrating the small wins and the capabilities we have. So for me, I think those are the two ways I would look at this. Reevaluate
Fantastic.
yourself as a person, as an individual on a daily basis, and also help your team to structure the culture around reevaluating how they're moving together as a team.
Fantastic. Before I come to you, Tessie, and I have an inkling on what you are going to say and what you're going to highlight as a practical way forward. I see a comment here. It doesn't say who it is, but they're joining from Johannesburg. And they say, thank you for this amazing discussion. Looking back is tricky. The temptation to overanalyze is real. Yeah, that's true. And you can get stuck in beating yourself up, especially when you haven't achieved, right? And I think what's important is learning how to look back, allow yourself to learn, but then to let it go. To let it go. I think as a believer, one thing I have learned is that the devil loves to remind you of what's not worked. And you have to be really intentional about telling him to just, yeah, tell him moved on. But yes, I think looking back can be really tricky. I I think it's essential because we need to learn from the lesson, but we need to make sure we don't allow ourselves to get stuck there.
Yes.
Tessie, your thoughts. Thanks a lot for that, Brenda. Tessie, your thoughts on something practical.
Great. And I really love to share this. I have used this for over maybe now 6 years, and it's worked for me from an yearly perspective, kind of, planning, and it's called the year compass. So I'll
Yes, it
request
is. I
Mucha
knew it. I knew it. I had it ready already. I've
to
shared it in the comments.
please share it with our audience today. The ear
Yes.
compass is brilliant. It helps you go down to the nitty gritties of what your ear was like, goes down to the nitty gritties of how you felt throughout the year, the things that you were not happy about, the things you're happy about, the things that made you, brought out the best in you, etc., and helps you plan for the next year. So the ear compass for me has been such a great tool over the years. Now, I use that now from a day-to-day perspective, and to borrow from it, I would call this the daily compass, right? So I'm
Mhm.
looking at it in a two-pronged way. In the morning and in the evening. When we wake up, of course, one of our natural um, uh, things to do is pick up your phone, maybe go onto WhatsApp or something. But I
Start
would
comparing yourself.
Yes, and when you get to WhatsApp or get onto social media, now we start pushing ourselves to show up through the day. It becomes even more difficult. So I would recommend that we put our phones away when we wake up and try and use this um, moment to reflect. So the morning compass would look like taking a bit, maybe like 2 to 5 minutes, just to dive in and look through what you want your day to look like. So, what is your true north for the day? What is the intention for that day? And take time to write it down. For those who do not like to write, use your phone. You can use an audio recording. Just do it. Be in that present moment and make the action, right? What is the intention for the day? Um, that tiny action will point you in the right direction as you set yourself up for the day, because you'll remember some of the things that you wrote down in the morning. Now, in the evening, when you're winding down, if you can do this before you leave the office, we spend most of our time in the office. And so sometimes when you're leaving, you feel so tired, and that opportunity to have some energy for the next day is not there when you're in the office. So if you can try and do this when you're in the office, you give yourself that a bit of energy for the next day. So while you're in the office, and if you can't do it in the office, do it at home. Check your position. Take 5 minutes and look back at the intention you had set and ask yourself these three questions. One, did I travel in my intended direction today? Two, what was a win and what did I learn on that journey? So, one, you're choosing to celebrate yourself for the things that went well. You're choosing to understand that even if something did not go well, you're learning from it. Then, three, what am I grateful for from the day's travel? Gratitude really helps us stop comparing,
Mhm.
because you have a different perspective to life. You have a different set of opportunities every day. You have different experiences. When you're grateful for what you're experiencing, you tend to go easy on the comparison. So have that attitude of gratitude, and it creates a brilliant feedback loop for yourself. Setting this compass in the morning, that gives you direction in the evening, that helps you, sort of recalibrate and say, I did my best for today. We try again tomorrow. So start out with the ear compass. This is the best time. Take time out, guys. It's not something you do haphazardly. You will need to
Yeah.
look for a karura
You
next
need
to you,
time.
sit down with a pen and paper,
You need time.
and
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
it. It takes a bit of time, and you need to have that time with yourself to do it. Then try the daily one, morning and evening. There's a tool I use called the 5 minute journal. It helps you do that 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the evening. I'll try and see if I can show it to you on screen. If you're going to download it, that's the app. So it's yellow and it's written journal. It's a
Mhm.
5 minute journal. If you use it in the morning, it doesn't take too much of your time. When we think about reflection and journaling, we think, where is the time between getting up, getting ready, getting kids ready, getting to the office, doing all these things? There's no time to journal. But it's a 5 minute request to invest in yourself in a way that you show up in the best way every day. And with that, Merry
I
Christmas.
love it. Thank you. I love it. I love it. Tessie, tell me the three questions again. So the first one was, did I travel in my intended direction today? What was the second question?
Second question, what was a win and what did I learn on the journey? Three, what am I grateful for from the day's travel?
Mhm.
So I'll post it in our chat
I
as
like
well.
it. I like it. I like it. I like it. Thank you very much. Wow, guys, you guys have been amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much for these amazing insights that you have shared with us today. I mention this every single month. I am blown away by what comes out of this lunch and learn every single month because it's always mind blowing. Somehow the guests just gel together and the conversation is just rich. So I've just shared those questions that Tessie shared with us. And as we wrap up, we are out of time. Tessie, I'll start with you. We'll go back around the way we came. Then you, Brenda. Then Tinashe, your parting shot. 10 seconds, your parting shot as we wrap up, as I really appreciate you all for joining today.
Thank you, Mucha. I will use a word that is in the Luo. And Tinashe, you'll forgive me. Today we've thrown in Bawa, which is Swahili. Now we're using the Luo. I feel like we need to have a side chat with Tinashe, but so I will share the word in the Luo. It's called chaka chaka. What chaka chaka means, just start. Like, don't
Mm.
overthink. Don't compare. Don't try and convince yourself it's not time. Just start. A lot of the things that we've been able to do over time, we realize that we should have started anyway, because
Yeah.
it takes different forms as you go on. You get, advisory, you get people who pour in the sprinkles and, add some flavor to it, but they can't if you don't start. So, chaka chaka. Yes.
Just start. Chaka chaka. I like that. Thank you very much, Tessie, for that parting shot. Brenda, your parting shot.
I feel like I should just adapt chaka chaka, just start. Like that was amazing in the most simplest and easy to adapt kind of ways. My parting shot is you are the best version of yourself when you're most authentic of yourself. Work with
Mm,
who you are best. That is where you find the best version of yourself, right? Look
I love
within.
it.
Look within and make sure that the person within you is blooming and blossoming. When you do that, you'll find things happening around you. Just you didn't go chasing after anything, it just starts coming in. Things start working out and things start falling in place. So
I love it.
dig knee deep into yourself and find your authenticity.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And that's really for me at the heart of EQ, right? Just being brave enough to dig deeper. Thank you very much for that. Tinashe, your parting shot.
Yeah, so me, very binary technical as I am, I'm going to simply say what gets measured gets managed, right? So what gets
Mm,
measured gets managed. So if you reflect, if you measure and reflect on what you have done based on the roadmap and the chaka chaka and everything around that, you can manage going forward. So measure it, reflect on it, and manage it. Don't be averse to reflecting and measuring it.
Love it.
That's
Love
it
it,
from
love it, love
my
it.
side. Yeah.
So, in a nutshell, my three esteemed guests, Chaka Chaka, just get started. You are the best version of yourself when you are authentic. So, do the work. And what gets measured gets managed. And I think a lot of times we think of measurement as things like sales targets. But what we're saying today is just reflecting on, what it is that you're working towards and who you have become and what you have learned all contributes to building this version of yourself that is one that you'll be happy about. So thank you so much for these amazing insights you've shared. My coffee for you all.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank
Thank
you.
you for
I love
having
having
Thanks
this
us.
everybody for
conversation. I love
Thank you
having
for
this
having us.
conversation.
yeah.
Thank
Yes.
you. I love having this conversation. It's always so rich. So there you have it, guys. I'm going to say goodbye to my panel. Thank you very much for being here, guys. Really, really appreciate it. And I look forward to us having more similar conversations. And like I said, once you've been here once, we'll invite you back again. So goodbye for now. Thank you very much. And happy birthday for tomorrow, Tessie.
Thank you.
Bye. Oh, wow. There you have it. What an amazing conversation we've had today. If it's your first lunch and learn, please diarize the last Wednesday of every month. We are here 12:30 East Africa time, the last Wednesday of every month, and we have such conversations. If you're still online or if you watch this later, do me a favor, take a minute and tell us what topics you'd like to see next year. We'd really love to hear from you. What else would you like to hear from us next year on this EQ Lunch and Learn? We demystify emotional intelligence and break it down so that you can see how practical a skill it is and how useful a skill it is. So share in the comments, whether now or later, what topics would you like us to bring for the EQ Lunch and Learn? And, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about what's coming up at PTS. We have a mental health workshop for HR practitioners and mental health champions that's coming up in February. It's a 2-day workshop from the 12th to the 13th of February 2026. So please visit our website for more information on that. And then equally, we're really excited about the 4th edition of our EQ for Africa conference, where we focus on mental health. So if you want more information about that, check it out on our website as well. We have an early bird offer that lasts until the end of January. So that's it from me. I am going to sign out. Thank you very much for joining us once again. And I look forward to connecting with you either on the next episode of the EQ Lunch and Learn or across our socials. If you don't follow us already, please make sure you do so at PTS Africa and at Mucha Mlingo. Bye-bye for now. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Thank you for your time.